Hey everybody, good afternoon. It's Tuesday, January 26th, and if you're watching, it is 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. I am your host, Regina Rossi Lamotte, and I'm super excited that I've got my dear friend Jessica Upham here with me, and she's also Eastern Standard Time, right in beautiful. Are we in Long Island today, Jessica?
Long Island, where it is currently flurrying.
Ooh, flurrying in Long Island and 82 today in our winter of Florida.
Wow.
Wah, wah. Awesome. All right. So, when I posted this and I was super excited that you said yes, I've been following Jessica. If you guys don't know, I call her Jessie. We're grateful for our social media platforms. Both her and I have that like-mindedness that the social media platforms keeps connection to people that we don't get to see often. And since I've moved to Florida 8 years ago, and it gets to have us reconnect to people in our lives that we might have lost touch to. And what you guys will learn about Jessica is that she also gets to reach lives and touch people who she's never met through her extraordinary talents through music and playing the ukulele and so much more. But I was thinking about this. I just interviewed Hal, and we just had our interview this past Sunday. So that was 1998 when I got married to him. We met, I think, and Hal and I, like in 96. So I met you not much later, like really inside of that music scene. I would say maybe 2000, because I think it was like 2 years. We're going to give it 2 years.
About that.
We'll give it 2 years. So, which means you and I are celebrating 21 years.
Happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary. 21 years of knowing one another. And for those guys who, know something about me and my former husband, he was in a band. He's a drummer. His true love is music. His passion as much as helping. He loves helping people, and now all the other things that he's up to, but still music is that heartbeat to me, to Jessica, to him. And so we had created a band, and Hal had all these people in his life to be introduced. So I always give props to Frank Walker, if you're watching, Frank, because Hal knew Frank and since he was a kid, and it was through Frank Walker and his music that I would show up on those open mic nights and then get to meet all these extraordinary people. And I think that's where I met you, at one of those open mic nights, right?
A great meeting place. One of the events that always brought us together was Frank's open mic from everywhere. I mean, Frank was almost like a walking song. You didn't even have to play an instrument. You just come down and sing. That was one of the things that was kind of intimidating about open mic night that didn't play instruments, was I can't go and enjoy myself and sing with a live band. But Frank kind of took that away for everybody and said, I know a million songs. Just tell me what you want to sing. A million songs.
So true. Just to let you know, like, there's something about it, come closer in, because when you move back a little bit, it cuts the mic off for you on the computer.
Okay, is that better?
Yeah, I don't know, for whatever reason. But yeah, Frank is that, like, I almost feel like there's this place I came down here to Florida called the Dueling Pianos when things were open. And it's amazing. It's two piano players that we as the audience try to stump them. So they'll play songs back and forth, right? They'll start playing songs. They'll each sing with each other. They harmonize. And it's a really fun show to be at. But then how they really make their money is we in the audience get to write songs down and tip them and try to stump them with a song that they do not know.
That's great.
It's the best night ever. And then they, for a certain amount of money, will allow you to come up and sing with them. And let me tell you, it's a lot of money because they also are super professional. And, they love the people who are drinking and want to come up. But I have been to, probably since I've been here 8 years, going on 9 years, about 5 dueling piano shows. And there's never been, and they're all different places that I've been to throughout Florida, there's never been any that haven't been stumped yet.
Really? Wow.
So it reminded me a lot of Frank, because it was like, Frank would know the song. He may not play it right away, but he knew it. So it was crazy. People would bring songs from the 1920s. People would bring songs like me. I mean, nobody really was that crazy to bring some underground, like heavy metal, like thrashing song, but it was fun. So when you said that, it reminds me of that.
Yeah.
So there we are, 21 years ago meeting. I get to see this extraordinary woman with this. Come on, if you look at Jessica, look at that gorgeous hair. We had that fun game, if you missed it this morning, 3 truths and a lie. And I don't know if you want to share yours yet or not. But it was about one of Jessica's saying is, that she had pin straight hair, that she misses, horseback riding. And I forgot what the other one was.
Was that one of my crush? Sha-na-na.
Bowser. Yeah, you keep on breaking in and out, girl. I don't know why that mic.
I just lowered the volume on my phone. How does that sound? Is that a little bit better?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
No, it's breaking back again. I'm wondering if do you have earphones to plug in or no?
I did not bring any with me.
All right. Yeah, it's like you get to say 5 words and then like for whatever reason it cuts out. I don't know.
I don't know either. Let me, would it be okay if I ran to go and try and find some?
Nah, let's keep it like this. We're going to make it work. We'll make it work.
Perfect.
All right. So we met each other in the music scene. I get to hear this extraordinary, beautiful woman's voice that, guys, if you have not been Facebook friends with her, if you have not found her on TikTok, you definitely should. She's going to blush, but she really has an extraordinary voice. It's everything from, to me personally, like that perfect pitch kind of voice. Like, there's those people that have that perfect pitch. Like for me, you can do that beautiful, sweet, I can't even explain it. It's just like that angel perfect voice to that powerhouse voice when needed. And now, with everything else that you're doing with your new favorite instrument, the ukulele, it's just incredible. It's moving for me no matter what you sing. It's just super moving. So yes. Yeah. So let's talk about when we met. What was going on in your life 21 years ago or so? Single woman.
It was funny because at that time I had made a declaration, I feel, to the universe that the last thing that I needed, and I use the word needed, was a relationship. I had come off of a relationship that was, it was time to end. I don't want to say it was bad. At the time, I probably thought it was bad and it was heartbreaking and sadness. But now, you look back and you reflect and you say that's exactly how it was supposed to happen. And that's exactly what should have happened. Right. And as soon as I said that, it's funny that you mentioned Frank, because Frank and I went to go see Colin Hay from Men at Work. And he sang a song called Waiting for My Real Life to Begin. And I said, that's it. That is the theme to my 30s. I'm going to adopt that philosophy. I'm just here and I'm just waiting and I'm just going along for the ride, right? I'm going to let whatever happen. And I was at a friend's show one day and here and there singing open mic. Again, at that time, I didn't play an instrument, so I had to rely on the kindness of strangers and people that I knew to play for me. And it was one of those situations, and I spied with my little eye a very handsome guy that looked like Greg Allman, Tom Petty, kind of like a combination mashup of this, like, who's he? Hey, what's on? And Hal, your husband, was playing drums in a band that my husband had called Forever Falling, and we connected that way, my husband and I.
So she spied with her little eye this guy to the corner after she had already made a declaration based on, see, again, how music, that song, those lyrics hit you. And Hal and I were just married, maybe a year or two. And again, through the same communities, met, Rob. And it's funny because I think I told Rob this, and I'm not sure if I told you this probably throughout the years, but I'd seen you and I saw him and I had said to Hal, oh my God, like they would be really cute together. And he's like, stop being the matchmaker. Because you and I had met and we talked and we just hit it off real well. And you were just sharing with me, like exactly what you said. It just came out of this relationship. And I'm single and it's good. I'm in my 30s. I'm just kind of going to see I'm going to go with the flow. And then I'd met like him and I was like, here's this guy who's like also single and super like just heartwarming and loving and totally into music and play guitar. And I'm like, oh, but this is perfect, And it happened. Like you guys.
It happened pretty quickly. I mean, we started making music together. We started singing together, and it progressed. Our relationship progressed really quickly. I don't want to say that a relationship isn't something that you should work at, but it's definitely something that happened. I mean, within a year of our first date, a year and 2 days after our first date, we were married.
Yeah.
And funny, you and Hal also played a strange part in that as well, because when we were out hunting for tuxedos, you know how places usually have thank you letters from the brides and grooms, and we went through looking for tuxedos, and there was a picture of you and Hal from the place where we got the men's tuxedos from. I'm like, well, this
is so funny.
Because
that's great.
Here.
That's so funny. That is awesome. Yeah, I really feel like you and this is for me because Josh and I was very similar. Like we pretty much from our dating to the time we got married was less than a year and a half. So I feel like the older you get, right, because you're in your 30s at that point, you've kind of started to kind of reflect on your life, really start getting more grounded in your belief systems, kind of like really, you don't have to, I mean, it's different for everybody, but I would say for most people that are in their 30s and older, you kind of start looking back at all the things of like what you did when you were a kid and what you're looking for. Like, sure, the attraction might not always be, I would say, when I was in high school, the look, he's so handsome. Right. Now the handsome comes from that feeling. Right. Yes. Like for me, I think Josh is the most handsome man in my eyes, and he's, my love. And like, if anybody else might say like, huh? But like for me, it's from that inside, and he's good looking and he's wonderful and he's warm, but it's different when you're like in high school and everything's superficial. Right.
Right. Even the relationship itself, like when you're in that younger mindset, you want somebody to complete you because you feel incomplete. And then when I had gotten to that point in my life, I said, no, I want to be a completed person next to another completed person, and we can live our complete lives together and just,
grow
on down the road.
Yes. He's on down the road. Yep. Absolutely. So you meet Rob. There it was. You spied him with your little eye. You guys connected. You started talking. He was like, hey. You were like, great. Let's see if we can sing together. You guys created your little duo together, and then 1 year to 2 days later, you guys are married. I remember that wedding so much. There's like so much fun inside that wedding. Such a great time. And let's tell the folks that are out there watching, how many years have you been married now?
We've been married since 2006. So we got together in 2005. We've been married since 2006. So we're going nice and strong,
Yeah, beautiful.
It's funny. It's in some ways, I'm sure with your marriage too, it feels like it's been forever because I don't really, I can look back on my life and I remember a time without him, but I always feel like he's been part of me. But then other times I feel like, gosh, it seems like just yesterday.
Yeah. I mean, think about it, 2006 when 2020, what?
I know, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. I love that kind of like you were saying, because, we celebrated our 10-year anniversary, Josh and I, in September, and we've been together for about 12 and a half years. And inside of like my belief system, that we're all energy, and we have that similar, we're all energy. There is these moments in time where I'm just like, that's when time becomes this real thing, right? Like it's forever, because guess what? All of these people that we've brought into our lives have been there all along. How they show up in my conversation is my friend Marcy taught me this. We are the movie, the director, the writer, and the star in our whole entire movie. We do the whole thing, or every part of it. So all of the energies are there and waiting for us to give them the scene to show up in. So Rob being like, it feels like forever, like when is he not there is because he's been there the whole entire time. He just came into that scene exactly when you wrote him in and was like, I'm going to pick you and add him in.
If he had presented, I had met him before that, I wouldn't have seen him in that way.
Yeah.
There wouldn't have been a spot for him. Like one of the things is if you keep that, if you keep people in your life that aren't supposed to be there, then the right person is going to feel like they probably, I don't know if universally, that there's no room for them. And they're just
Right.
not fit at the time until they're supposed to fit, until it's time to fit, right?
Yep, exactly. So now you guys are married and you're, were you living in an apartment first or did you guys get your house?
Oh, Rob had that house. So we moved in together and we got engaged in February. We were living together in January, engaged in February, and then we got married in October. So we had been living together for a little while before we got married. And, again, the relationship went really smoothly. It went really quickly. The wedding was wonderful. And what's the next obvious thing when you get married? The questions are,
when are you gonna have a baby, Jessie and Rob? When are you guys gonna have kids?
So, obviously everything went so smoothly, naturally. I'm gonna be pregnant in 4 months. It's gonna be easy. Everything's great. Everything's grand. Someone's throwing rose petals behind me as I walk. I'm still on this high.
Yep.
Everything's gonna happen exactly the way it's supposed to. Nope.
So yeah, this is the one thing we're getting real about today, guys, because Jessica really has this commitment and to share with people about infertility. And it is from her personal experience and her personal journey that I really thought was important for us to talk about, especially because I work with so many children and families and caregivers, and I'm in so many moms groups. It's a topic that's not fun. It's a topic that definitely might trigger some of you out there. So I'm going to just say to the audience, this is what we're going to be spending some time on right now. If this is an area that you're not really healed about yet, feel free to jump off and skip over this when it's time. If you're interested in her journey and learning and maybe connecting to yourself, because Jessica really wants to be that resource for you. I created Here For You Connections and Resources so I can bring topics and education to people and to connect people in that. And she is an open book and a willing open book to support people in that, whatever they're feeling around infertility. So thank you, Jessica, for being so real and raw and vulnerable and, ready to share that. So she has this perfect life, right? Meets this guy, things are going well. For them, they wanted to have children. For them, it was the natural next step. It was what she wanted, what he desired, and everything worked out so smoothly, it's going to be a piece of cake. But little did you know, it wasn't. So why don't you just take it from there?
Right. After I do want to preface this by saying that throughout the infertility struggle, we are lucky enough to have a wonderful son. And I'm only saying that because when I was in the thick of my infertility and I would hear women who have successfully gone through the journey, there was always a little bit of the feeling of that's easy for her to say. You know what I mean? Like that's easy for you to say because now you don't struggle with it anymore. So I'm coming to you from a place of having gone through it. And, I hope that what I'm able to say can resonate. And, and I remember every bit of it. After the first year of being married, I remember we didn't go on a honeymoon right after we got married. We went away for the weekend and we decided, let's see where we are financially after the wedding. We'll plan a big anniversary trip after 1 year. And it was obvious on our 1 year anniversary that I still was not pregnant. And that's when we decided that we were going to go and talk to a doctor, reproductive endocrinologist about what the next steps were to take. I had already started doing some research because that's the kind of person that I am. I was thinking that they would put me on Clomid, which is a drug that helps you with your ovulation, but it's not anything too serious that you have to, think about or worry about. And I thought it would be, it stinks that we're not pregnant yet, but it's not going to be that difficult, obviously, again, because we have this perfect marriage and this perfect life, right? So we went to the doctor, and the first trip to the reproductive endocrinologist kind of knocked me on my behind, because they said, you have, a very low egg quantity and not the greatest egg quality. I don't want to speak for my husband because he's not here, but there was a male factor as well. So I will say that even though we had these obstacles stacked against us and we knew what the obstacles were, we are still very lucky to have known those obstacles, because there are many couples that have something called unexplained infertility. And when you are physically, hey, you're good, everything should be working, we don't know why it's not. A lot of times I think that that's harder than knowing what you're up against. At least you're up against something. So going through the cycle of not knowing, like I'm very good at putting myself in other people's shoes.
Yeah.
I however cannot imagine what that would be like, not knowing what it was. Like what are we blaming this on? What are we calling this? What is the cause of this? So that's got to be really hard. So I give a lot of applause that went to women that don't know, men that don't know, I should say couples that don't know what they're up against, but still continue to give it their all, because it's an exhausting process,
Yeah.
So we started with, we said, let's do the medication with injectables. Because my egg quality was so low, the Clomid, taking pills was not an option for me. I had to take basically an IVF level of medication, which was injectable medication. I was giving myself injections in my legs and in my stomach. And, I was so nervous the first time, but I'll tell you what, I got so good at filling a syringe and giving myself an injection. My husband's like, are you stirring a pot of sauce? I'm like, yep. He goes, did you just give yourself an injection in your stomach? I'm like, I'm that good, babe. I am that good.
Wow.
I felt, me, I try to make everything into a positive. I try to see the silver lining. And I looked at that thing that scared me so much. And now I'm turning that into something that I feel empowered by it. I feel empowered that I'm able to do that, because it's something that I never thought I would be able to do, because it's a scary thing,
Yeah.
So we started with inseminations, basically putting everything where it's supposed to go and letting conception take place inside of my body, and that still wasn't working. So
and how long did you go through that?
We did, let me see, we did 2 IVFs. I was medicated for an entire year. We did 2 IVFs. We did 8 inseminations. So we did 5 inseminations with absolutely no success before moving on to IVF.
Okay.
So, I mean, we kept trying with this one doctor, and it wasn't working. And I don't want to say it was because of the doctor. It was because of my body and the situation. And we decided that we were going to move on and we were going to do IVF. Now, the problem at the time in New York State, and I don't know if the laws have changed because it's been a long time since I've done fertility treatments. At the time, inseminations, which were also called IUIs, those were covered by insurance policies, because conception takes place inside of the body. With IVF and conception taking place outside of the body, basically in a dish, they won't cover it. And the language of the law, it kind of almost sounded like they were coupling it with the idea of cloning, that this is something, it's not taking place inside of the body.
Oh, interesting.
So they wouldn't cover that under the insurance. There were places that you could work places and they would add that to their policy, but by law, it was not something that employers were required to cover in their insurance. So for all intents and purposes, even though IVF was not covered by insurance, New York was still a really great place to live if you were an infertile woman, because the inseminations were.
Okay.
Not every state covered insemination. So again, I have to look at the positive. I was part of, at the time, chat rooms. Can you remember that? Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Right. And blogs and things like that. Women saying that, they can't pay their mortgage because they are saving up to do an insemination. And here I'm able to do one right after the other because my insurance
Wow.
is allowing me. But in the same respect, it's almost like insurance companies were penny wise and dollar foolish to pay for all of these inseminations for me, where if they would have just paid for an IVF, we could have, jumped that.
Yeah, that's huge. Yeah. So that's a year. I mean, so, I want to take a moment and really, take a breath, because there's a lot of emotions and feelings that go through that, through my experience of being a social worker and working with women and families. And even now, there's a lot of emotions, like trying for a year. Jessica is that person like me, where the glass, not even half full, where the glass like 3/4 full, and that's what keeps us going. But, you've been through that year of trying, and now you're going through these, inseminations and things aren't working. What had you, because I really would love to, have people like, what is your why? What was that thing that kept you that 3/4 glass full? Because I know for me, it takes a community. I know I have to surround myself by, not just the people that are in the same boat as me, but the people outside that could be that objective, point of view. So what was that for you?
I felt in my heart that my heart would tell me when it was time to stop. A lot of people, when their funds run out, because it's a very expensive thing. I mean, the average cost at the time of an IVF procedure is $15,000.
Wow.
So imagine doing that month after month and not being able to afford that, and to have to give up that dream because you can't afford it. So we did, like I said, we did 5 inseminations before moving on to the IVF. And, I think when the inseminations didn't work and I would get that phone call that the test came back negative, I would lose it for a day. I would give myself a day. I would grieve something that wasn't even really there. And people were like, well, you got to pick yourself up. And with fertility treatments, you have to pick yourself up, because you need to now get your instructions for the next cycle. If you want to continue, you have to order your meds. You have to, start thinking about, planning your schedule and all of that stuff, because there's so many variables that go into a cycle, whether it be an insemination or an IVF. But after 5 times, I kind of looked at my husband and said, this isn't working. We need to move on, or we need to just take a break. And at that point, we decided that we were going to move on and we were going to try a different doctor. And I don't know why, but I know that when we walked into his office, I got that feeling of, this is the doctor that's going to help us. And he did. We
That's
did
incredible.
an IVF procedure that resulted in 5 embryos. And they put 3 embryos in, and one of them took. And I have my very, very beautiful, wonderful son, who's now 11 years old.
11 just recently, Bobby. Yes.
He's 11 and he's shaving. And Regina, he's shaving. He's losing teeth, but he's shaving.
No.
I don't understand how that happens, but it and I can look back on it now, obviously having gone through it, and look at things that I'm grateful for the experience. Like, I have a picture of my son. I have a picture of the 3 embryos that they put back into me. I have a picture of my son before he was even in utero. People are like, oh, look at my baby's sonogram. I'm like, look at my baby before he was even in me. Like, there are certain things that happen that when you have success, you can reflect back on and be happy that you got to experience. And he, he's such a blessing, and he's such a good kid. I feel really, really lucky, but it doesn't, the difficulties don't wash away. They just make you appreciate the outcome when it's more,
Yeah. I would say that how I can relate to this is the fact that what I'm really hearing is 2 things that showed up for me: a deep deep committed desire. Both you and Rob had this deep committed desire to be parents, and to go through every single aspect of that journey, right? And keep on looking at each other, communicating, him asking you, babe, what's next? You've been through these 5. And you're like, nope, I know it. Like it's that conversation I've been saying on my lives in the morning, that intuition, that knowingness, though you have no evidence, you have anything, and it's like that deep, deep intuition. We all have it. You knew it. And when you walked into that doctor's office, it was like, you don't know why. The fact is, it's that intuition that this is the place, this is what's going to happen. And I can relate to that because that's what Josh and I don't know if you know, but so a friend of mine has written her book and it'll be coming out soon. And we are one of those couples in that book that we talk about that it's impossible to be impossible is the name of our chapter. Because when that commitment, that deep intuition and desire to be parents, nothing's going to stop you. There'll be really rough days, like you said, there'll be days of crying, letting that release that emotion and to continue on that journey. So like you figured out your thing. I first had to figure out, what was told to me. Can I really be a parent? I went and got all those tests done to say, your eggs are done.
Yep.
Like your eggs are done. And she really was great to say, we could put all of this chemicals in you. But it's like and it was like then Josh and I had to make that next choice, right? Like, do I want to fill my body up with chemicals that literally she told me it was less than like 20%.
Right.
But it's that commitment. And so, you've been through my journey with, adopting Lexi. There was, got it, lost her, got her, lost her. And then now we have her. So the same thing for you. You went through those journeys. So I really want people to know it's that committed desire because there's a lot. There's a lot of emotions and not all couples get through it all. And I just think it's really beautiful that, you guys were able to go through that and that commitment and that love and that desire. Because I've heard the story, it's kind of pulls people apart as well.
Absolutely. That's the one thing that I can say. Our relationship got so strong and it made us stronger. It made us stronger. And after having Bobby, we thought, hey, maybe it opens something up. Let's try some more insemination. So after we had Bobby for a little while, we said, we did have this dream of having more children. Do we want to do this? That brought us into what's called secondary infertility. And that came with a whole new slew of things where you still had the body issues of not being able to physically conceive on your own. But then you also had the outsiders' influences of, well, now you have a child. Why can't you just be happy with what you have? Why would you want to, as if almost to say, be grateful for what you have. By saying that, you're almost implying that I'm not, which is so far from the truth because I am so grateful. It's just having him and seeing his little face just like lit a fire. I'm like, if I could have 2 more of these, like, oof, how can you not want more after you have a Bobby? I don't know. So we got right back on the infertility bandwagon and we tried again. We did 3 more inseminations after that, and none of them were successful. I do have to say, I've never experienced a miscarriage, but in total, we did lose 5 embryos. And it's something that, I don't want to get into the discussion of personhood and things like that, but I think about them, if they would have been boys, if they would have been girls, what they would look like, things of that nature. So we did 3 more inseminations and they did not work. And actually, my fertility practice had a contest where they were trying to help out people that could not afford to do IVF.
I remember that. Yep.
And we were the recipients of the grand prize of something called a micro IVF that would allow us to do a minimal stimulation IVF. I was on some pretty heavy duty medication when I had Bobby. Again, like we were talking about our egg quality and quantity.
Right.
Their idea was if we give her a little bit less medication, maybe it would be better for her and make her stimulate more. And we did an IVF with that and did the surgeries and did all of that. And it unfortunately did not work.
And how long was that after you had Bobby? Like a year? Was he a couple of years old?
The contest was, he was probably about 3 years old when we did the contest. I'll send you the video of what I had to do, because I videotaped myself giving myself injections and what it was like to go through an insemination. I actually, it was before YouTube and everything got really big.
Yeah.
So it's very grainy.
Yeah.
As I would say, the special effects are so lame.
So funny. All right. So we went through that. And so what was that, so here's the moment of, you've been through all of that. You won this grand prize. That didn't happen. Bobby's now 3. And where are you at? Like, what's the thought at that moment in time, and fast forward to where we are today?
The thought at that moment was, if it happens naturally, we are going to be over the moon. We decided at that moment that we were just going to do absolutely everything that we could to give Bobby the very best life possible. As I told you, the cost of IVF is exponential, and
Yeah.
I already have this family that I need to provide for and make sure that he's taken care of, that I don't want to take that money away, from our savings and our safety. And we're gonna, we want to go to Disney World. We want to do all these things. And here we are, spending a lot of time and a lot of energy and a lot of money to have it, that I was starting to feel that maybe we weren't enjoying the time that we had, and some time was slipping away, because I woke up yesterday and he's 11 years old. Did I mention he's shaving?
Yeah. And losing teeth at the same time. Very weird.
Yes. So,
yes.
So we wanted to get to the point where we enjoyed our life. And I don't want to say that we've given up, but it's pretty safe to say that the shop is closed.
But we're always open to whatever the universe provides.
That's exactly it. And one of the things that I tried to do was put a little bit of a positive spin on whatever experience I was going into. Finding out that we were having difficulty conceiving the natural, good old fashioned way, that it wasn't going to happen that way, gave us a lot more freedom in our relationship to just be with each other, instead of it being like, all right, here's my temperature, we have 20 minutes,
exactly.
When someone says it's not going to happen that way, you do get a lot of freedom back. I mean, it's very sad and it's very upsetting, but you're like, all right, we could just
be ourselves.
We can just be ourselves. We don't have to, it's not going to happen that way. So let's have fun with that,
Yep. Awesome. I love it. Thank you for sharing that journey, and that personal journey, and know that, Jessica is definitely, we'll post in, when this is done in live, how you can reach out to her.
Sure.
So now I get to see this little boy, like when he's little. I don't get to see him as much anymore, but if you people want to say the apple doesn't fall far from the trees, because I'm going to say trees between both parents here, holy cow. He is like ridiculously talented, like both parents. Jessica tends to use her creative stuff out there a lot more with music, from her singing and her playing, and she's a teacher, so she gets to really use all of that creativeness around the kids that She works with, so much about, I can say you're probably one of the funniest like people on the planet. And I mean that in like, like not funny, like, haha, like really, if you want joy in your life, you need to like hang out with this woman. If you're like, hey, I'm coming into town, I want to hang out with you. She's like, got it. Come to my house. This is what we're going to do. Or she won't let you know, and she will make that surprise and have it's simple with the people who she knows you're definitely going to love. And then you are going to have rock hard abs. I don't need to work out. Go to Jessica's house because you're going to laugh and literally feel joy and love ridiculously. Like that's, how many, see, I get chills, like it's just chills. How many times the few times I've been back, it's been at your house, or you show up at a dinner and it's just laughter and fun and ridiculous creativity. Like the fact that there's so many hats that you wear and that you can be, doing so many things. Like I'm party planners and then even making all the little things for the party. It's insane for me. So that then becomes the creativity that I get to watch, unfortunately, but happily through social media, your son grow and develop into this talent that is so into theater and making his own movies, and the two of you together, like I swear, like for me with the whole pandemic and whatever, like get on now. You guys have to have your show now. Like why you're not on Netflix or not on Amazon Prime or on some show is beyond, because he is just full of love, full of talent, full of joy, super funny, He is. And Rob, listen, Rob, you're going to watch this. I love you more than anything, but you're very much like my husband, Josh. You're the behind the scenes guy.
Yes.
You're like, you hold the space for us. You're like, you go for it. Every once in a while, he gets in the picture, gets in the thing.
That show where you just kind of see him over the fence.
Yeah. Oh my God, that was so funny. But they're the ones who really are like our rock, or give us that whole entire stage to be ourselves. And they love it. That's why that's that. So now we got this beautiful boy who's growing up and is 11. And then there's that conversation that you were like, hey, let's talk about this. And I was like, okay, let's talk about it. Because there's another part of now getting pregnant and having a child, and then some word of autism shows up. So why don't you share a little bit about that?
Bobby has always been a very free spirit, a very quick thinker. He's got big thoughts. And that was something that to me was always just fascinating and wonderful. And I encouraged that. A lot of times I would speak with him and talk with him, and I'd say, well, hey, I'm talking to you. What are you thinking about right now? And he would say, well, I'm not thinking about what you're talking to me about, but I am thinking about if could a tiger run faster than a puma in the sun, because he has less black on his body, and I know that black holds heat. Will it slow him down? Like he's thinking these really deep, really deep things, really cool things that I don't ever want to suppress. But I would hear time and time again from different mommy and me groups, socialization groups. As a mother, and I'm sure you'll experience this at some point too, it kind of felt like in a very aggressive way from people, because you're kind of defensive, like you're protective of your kid.
Oh, I see it all the time.
Yeah. I remember picking him up from, he did a socialization class because I was a stay-at-home mom. After I had him, just for the simple fact that it just didn't make sense for me with what I was doing at the time to go back to work. I wasn't making enough money, that I just wanted to stay home with him. That's what we decided to do as a family unit. I was going to stay at home until he went back to school. And so I did want him to have that socialization without me. So we signed him up for it's called a separation class, where he's just kind of on his own with the teacher. It's just like, the precursor to preschool. And I remember I came and I picked him up and I said, how was he? Did he have a good day? And the woman said he was terrible today. And she used the word terrible. And it took all that I had in my body and in my blood to just take my hand and put it on my son and walk him out and never, ever bring him back there again. But I was hearing from a very young age that he was not able to focus and that he was very hyperactive. He wasn't violent. He wasn't mean. He was just always very excited. He was excited about everything. As a baby, he would say hi to strangers in the store, and I would actually have to get the person's attention and say, "Can you acknowledge him? Because he's
Yes.
not trying to say hello to you until you say hello back to him." There were certain things that, to me, he's just being a kid. And again, I'm not going to suppress that.
Nope.
It followed him through elementary school, kindergarten, first grade. And then when we got to second grade, I said, you know, I'm doing him a disservice if I don't actually get this looked at and try to see if there's something there. And I thinking, you know, like, hey, I know my kid. I know everything. This is going to be great. I knew that they were going to say ADHD when we took him to the developmental pediatrician. I knew they were going to say it. I knew it, because let him be excited about the world. Let him be excited about life.
Yes.
You know,
Yep.
he's okay. And they said, well, he's got ADHD. And I looked at my husband. I'm like, told you. And then they said, and he's on the autism spectrum disorder. And those words came out in slow motion. And I went, what are you talking about? And it's, I guess years and years ago, when they didn't have that blanket term of autism spectrum disorder, he probably would have fallen under the category of what you would consider to be Asperger's.
Okay.
He's very high functioning. He's verbal. I get a lot of times, like, he doesn't seem like he's got autism. He doesn't seem like he's on the spectrum. And it's strange to hear that, because not that I was reluctant to accept it. It explained a lot after he was diagnosed. And after accepting that diagnosis, it opened up a world of community and support. And everything, he has had the best year this year. He's in the student council. I mean, I feel like there's nothing that this kid can't do. We tried medication for a little while with his ADHD, and I'm all for medication if it works for you. It didn't work for him. Bobby also has a little bit of a tic, like he'll do this sometimes if he gets excited. If he were to take a medication such as Ritalin or a stimulant medication, it would stimulate more tics. So you have to like pick your battle.
Yep.
What do you want to do? And his school district was very supportive when I said, Bobby just needs a reminder that he needs to focus. Can't somebody just remind him, like, hey, that's not what we're doing right now. Get back to your work. This is what we have to do. Because that's all I have to do to him at home. I mean, granted, I have to do it constantly. Like I walked into the kitchen the other day. It was like that scene from Poltergeist, where every closet door was open, every chair was away from the table. I'm like, what happened in here? Why can't you close the doors? I have to remind him constantly to do those things. And to me, it's not that big of a deal, honestly, because I'm his mom, but I can see how it's hard in the classroom setting for him to focus. And
you're a classroom teacher, right?
I'm a classroom teacher. I teach preschool. I have 12 3-year-olds.
So you get it. So you get just 3-year-old now, learning about the spectrum of autism, you know that it's your all day reminder.
Yeah, it's the truth. And I mean, it's so like autism, when you think of a spectrum, right? It covers a lot of ground. There are so many different areas of that spectrum that when he came out and asked me point blank, we were actually at Red Robin, we were eating a burger and fries, and I could tell he was thinking about something. And I said, what are you thinking about right now? Because you're not here. You're thinking about something. You're someplace else. And he said, am I autistic? And it knocked me for a loop. And I said, well, yeah, you are. Why are you asking me this now? He said, well, in school, they read a book and it was about a boy that had autism. And the boy that had autism, he does something called stimming. He shakes his hands. I don't shake my hands. I said, no, I know you don't. He goes, the boy in this book, he didn't like loud noises. And again, we talked about the universe and how things happen. At that very moment, the server dropped a tray of plates and they all broke on the floor. And Bobby just kind of looked over in the direction of the loud noise. I said, well, did that loud noise bother you? He said, no. And Mommy, the boy in that book, he doesn't like to be hugged. He doesn't like to be touched. So I grabbed him and I squeezed him. I said, does that bother you? He says, no, I like it. I said, there's so many different areas of the spectrum. It's just a word that doesn't define who you are. If you've met one person with autism, you've only met one person with autism. One of the first times that we had left his developmental pediatrician, I was checking out and I could hear Bobby just talking to this lady about, I forgot what was on TV, probably about kangaroos or wallabies or something. Like, he's very into animals. And he was just nonstop talking. And my husband made a comment. He goes, he's a real chatterbox. And that woman, I could cry just thinking about it. She said what I wouldn't give to hear my daughter say just one word. Like, if that doesn't define how big autism is, I don't know what does. Like, there are just so many different variables to it. Ooh, I'm sorry.
No, you just got me. And I'm like, we're going to take a moment. It is super important for people, this conversation. I really, I'm emotional for you because it is so important as a social worker, as I don't know, my commitment and purpose to do this work, because we are so hardwired into a word and the meaning, and the word, and then we have the meaning, and then we get all these people that agree about that, and it all becomes this box. And that's what you and I have never been. We've never been in that box. And we don't allow that box. We allow curiosity to flow. We allow creativity to flow. And you know me, I'm all about people to have their self-expression be expressed in the world. And so I thank you so much for sharing that, and especially what that other parent was talking about, because we do. Autism is still a word that's still, it's still really not defined. But if you go and look it up, and here's the definition, and Bobby's reading a book, and there it is. Here's autism. But I'm not any of that, Mom. I'm not any of that. I go through that with adoption. It has taken me about 4 books now and found the one book that I feel is exactly appropriate for her, because adoption is like a whole plethora of stuff. And since she's in open adoption, we wanted to start, and it's not many people have written stuff about open adoptions and those emotions and experiences. And I will put that particular book out there for people because I really love it, because in the beginning of the book it says, if your child is in kindergarten, here are some of the questions and the way you might want to phrase things in first grade. So I really feel like when it comes to autism, not something I know a lot about, and definitely what I do know is a lot of the stereotype, what you just shared. So I appreciate you really remembering that word, guys, spectrum. And spectrum is beautiful. If we think of light spectrum, we automatically think of the color of the rainbows, right? So Lexi,
you don't want to dim that in anything.
No. And inside the rainbow, we teach Lexi that light, although we see those Roy G. Biv that we talk about, it is way more than that. Light spectrum is beyond Roy G. Biv, people. And so that's the whole thing of spectrum, what I've got from you about each and every one of us. And we're talking about autism. There's a spectrum. And when we're talking about infertility, there's a spectrum. We're talking about so many things. So really this conversation was to get Jessica's perspective, her spectrum of what she went through, and sharing about her son. And if that just has somebody be a little bit curious and have some questions and have some thoughts and things to think about, like myself, that I'm like, I really was that box of only what I see, only what I know, what I can look up in definition. It's, I'm just not around a lot of that. People then can start connecting and realizing that. And we are all about, inside of all of that, bringing that gratitude, like that woman said to you, Chatterbox was a beautiful thing. Like, it wasn't meant bad, but for that woman, it was that moment that triggered for her. Like, that's the spectrum I wish my child could be at.
Absolutely.
So I really, really, totally appreciate. This is 55 minutes already. Can you believe, like, we're like 55 minutes? Yeah. So, I mean, it went super, super quick. So just tell us something cool that Bobby's up to right now. Something you want to share about what you're up to right now, because he's constantly in theater and amazing leads and plays that I wish I could be in person to see.
He does great work at a local theater here called Studio Theater in Lindenhurst. And right now he's not doing a performance. Like, they have different shows that they do. I give him the option to pick. Like, I'll tell him, like, here's what the plays are. Here's what they're about. He's like, no, no, and no. He's doing an improv class. Like, how brave is this? What?
Yeah, but that's so you. That's what I mean about that fun, that funniness. Like, I'm like, come on, you could be on that.
I'm like, so how was the first class? He's like, he came down with the biggest smile. And, at first you always think, like, is he going to be able to remember all of these lines? Is he going to be able to? He can remember things so quickly. Again, maybe that has something to do with his area of the spectrum. I said, this is not going to be like theater at all. Acting, you're going to have to think on your feet. And he's like, I had the greatest time. He likes to perform. He loves applause. He loves to make, he very much feeds off of other people's happiness, very much like me. Like, he likes to make people smile, and he likes to make people happy. And that's something that I like to do too. And you asked us what I was up to, and you were talking about social media and the ukulele. I've been playing ukulele a lot and trying to use social media as a superpower instead of, for good versus evil.
Yes.
If you look for good people, you're going to find them everywhere. Like, some people say the pitfalls of social media, that they're only pitfalls if that's what you're looking for. If you're looking for people if you're looking for people like the people that I've surrounded. My shirt says your vibe attracts your tribe.
Dude, do you know what I'm wearing today?
No.
Oh my God. Ready? Check this. No bad vibes. We didn't even know this. See what I mean? There you go, people. Here's the evidence. If you do not believe in energy attracting like to like, here it is. We did not plan this. So she's talking about vibes, no bad vibes. We are totally on here. This is amazing. I love it. Yeah, I remember you, like, this wasn't a woman who, like, her voice is her instrument, and then really didn't play other instruments, and now is like guitar, and then her new baby ukulele. And yes, just the joy and happiness of, I have chosen not to be on TikTok, not out of a negative. Here's what I know about myself.
Okay.
I will never see my family or do anything ever again. I will just be on TikTok because there is so much joy in there. The little bit that shows up on my Facebook or in through other social media platforms, I seriously can just watch you. I've done it. And then 55 minutes goes by and I'm like, oh my God, I've got to go pick up Lexi from school. They're going to close in 30 minutes. And it's because, not your fault. I know it's an addictive thing. So I need to still work on training and developing myself around that. And I have not made that structure in time. But yeah, man, I got friends that are like loving it and exploring and making such a difference. So seeing you not meet somebody and hearing your voices, like that whole like singing together.
Yeah.
I can't even tell you how many, I don't even know who I love more. You know what I mean? Like all the people you've been with, you've like had people from around the world, different ethnicities, I think it was the last person. And if I say this wrong, please apologize to me. all I remember is like kind of a guy. I don't know if he's African American or where he's from.
Because not what name it is. He was from TikTok, and he allows people to do duets to his videos, and I saw it and I jumped on it, and I ran into my bathroom. I set up my tripod. I sang it a few times, and I was just like, sometimes you just have to sit on the floor and sing with a stranger. And then the recent thing was just through playing ukulele and the ukulele community on Instagram. I met two really great friends from Australia, and their names are Bill and Jessie, and we just filmed a collaboration that, I mean, how cool is that? Like, these, say what you will about social media, but I would never have ever met these people at an open mic night. I would never have met them in any walk of life for social media. So you get from it what you want. You get what you put out, you know?
Exactly. And so that's why I'm out to put out these videos, because I'm just out to educate, empower, inspire, to have people connect no matter what you're dealing with, no matter where you are. I want you to know that you are not alone. Your voices matter. You are meant to be seen. You're meant to be heard. You're meant to be known. And that doesn't mean you have to be live like Jessica and I. That means that you can just use your voice and all of that by reaching out privately to Jessica, reaching out privately to me. We'll connect, we'll meet, we'll make you feel safe. She will totally make you laugh no matter what. If you need a good laugh, you gotta like hang out with Jessica. And anyway, send the way. So we are at our 1 hour and 1 minute. I gotta go off to my next piece. But I love you more than anything in the world. I know that we'll be connecting. I'm going to put this out there to you. It's on my list. I'm in a leadership program. And one of the things that showed up for me is that, I don't know if you know this, but I had transformed that conversation. I'm just a cover singer. Like, I'm not a real singer. I'm not like Jessie. I'm not like Frank. I'm not like this one. I'm not like Robin. But I really had a deep desire of learning how to have my voice be, in music. So I'd met a wonderful man through a landmark education called Tony Woodruff. And Tony is a music producer and helps people write songs, was from the original band of the song, How You Feeling? Hot, hot, hot. How you feeling? Hot, hot, hot. So he's from Trinidad. I'm mentioning him because he has passed away. It's his anniversary. 3-4 years have gone by super quickly. But I did get to write 4 songs, and he did the tracks for them. And we never got to make it to an album. And I named my album I Am Home, and never finished it, right? I had pictures taken, and all of that stuff from a really long time ago. Now, the talk about the universe is Josh traded in our car, or at least got us, Lexi wanted a Nissan Kicks. That's what my daughter wanted. Saw it once, Josh got it for us. We traded in the old Nissan, did that. And I use my cell phone, but I don't download music on it. Like, I'll listen to Spotify and stuff like that, but I don't download it. I just don't want to mess it up. I'm old fashioned. I use iTunes. I use iPod.
Yeah.
And I just plugged it into my phone last week. I connected it to, so that when I call people, I can drive and talk through it. And all of a sudden, in the background, coming through the speaker, was like these tracks. And I thought I had Spotify on. And I was like, oh my God. And I'm listening, and I'm like, and I could feel my friend Tony. I could feel him. And then I got this crazy thought, Tony, you stole these tracks. Like, you stole these tracks from someone. And then I look on my car, because you can see what it is. And there are the tracks. Somehow or another, what I didn't download onto my phone was downloaded on my phone. A track.
My track.
Yeah. Well, and the name and the song, title came across, because it's called My Reality. And it was like, whoa. And I just started crying. So I made a commitment to my group that it is time for me to have my songs be out there. Just to complete this whole conversation is whatever. And I thought, I can't do this. And just listening to you, you were on my list saying, yeah, I can. This is what today's technology is about. Like, it may not be his tracks, but like, you know, people, and I'm going to reach out to Robin and whatever, and just share the raw, of it, and start connecting from people who could be from around the world who are interested in working with me, recreating the tracks, showing me how to like record, because like we don't have to be together and I don't have to go to a studio. So that's sort of like the new 2021 challenge. And I wanted to share that with you.
That's exciting.
Yeah, that's making me nauseous right now and I want to throw up. Because like I said, I am confident, you know that. I am so out of the box, but that I'm still like.
Yeah, no, I know. But as soon as you jump out of that box, you're never going to be able to get stuff back in. Once you put the suitcase, it's hard to repack it. Once you take that up, you're never going to feng shui it back into that little tiny package. You just have to be free and stretch out.
I'll find that feng shui way. That's awesome. Well, my love, thank you for your time, for your energy, for your story, just for everything that you are out to do in life. When we are done here, guys, Jessica will put into the comments a way that you can reach out to her about, if you want to reach out to her, ask her questions or anything you want to know about her, sharing about her infertility, sharing about, her extraordinary, beautiful son, Bobby, who's 11 now, and about autism, about her amazing husband, Rob, about ukulele, about TikTok. She's got a lot of stuff that she can talk to you about. And same thing as well, if you're interested in being interviewed and having your story be told, great. If you're interested in, just being able to empower yourself, I got you covered there too. So with that, from us to you, we love you and have a great rest of the day.